You've tuned in to chipsgrooveradio with your hosts, Mike and John. And welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Mike, and with me today is my good friend, John. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm hyperspacing in today.
Hyperspacing in?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, this
Ready
is
for
one
action.
of those. Yeah, one of those soundtracks that takes place in space.
Space.
I like it. It's different. Tell me why you picked this one. What drew you to this one?
Sure. Homeworld is a game that really drew me in. Came out in 1999. It's interesting that you think of the mid 90s, like 96, 97, it's kind of the golden age of PC gaming.
Yeah.
But for me, when it came to real-time strategy games, the late 90s, early 2000s is kind of where it's at for me. Homeworld and Shogun Total War were two games that just took up all my time.
Shogun, I remember that.
I love Shogun.
It's been so long.
But yeah, this is definitely a game that stood out to me as an exceptional new take on real-time strategy games.
Yeah, and the fully three-dimensional, that was a very cool innovation.
Yeah, for sure. That it's really interesting.
It changed the game, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because up until then we had, your Command and Conquer, your StarCraft, that kind of thing, and those are all top down, and this one just kind of throws you into the middle of everything. You can look at everything from every angle. It's a beautiful game. I looked at some long plays of it.
There's a lot of flanks you have to worry about in this game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Homeworld, in addition to being an innovative RTS, probably has one of the most interesting real-time strategy stories in it. In Homeworld, you are a group of dwellers on a planet that is dying, basically. It's a desert planet. You've been there for millennia. You really don't know your history. And you find a mothership carcass in the middle of the desert. And in it is a hyperspace drive. Your clan takes it and rebuilds the mothership. And in addition to that, you get a Rosetta Stone type thing where it shows you the Hagara, the home world of your people. Well, you build your spaceship, you do a test flight, and when you get back, your entire planet is being destroyed by the Titan Empire. Because unbeknownst to you, because it's been 4,000 years, you have been exiled to this planet and forbidden to use hyperspace technology. So your entire people are wiped out. You only have 600,000 cryogenically frozen people that get put into your mothership, and you are off to find home.
That's pretty dark.
Yeah, it's a really interesting, just the idea of having this long-term exile where you don't even know, it's lost to the ages, but for whatever reason, the Titan Empire is willing to commit mass genocide because of it after those thousands of years.
That's very cool. I don't know. I want to say a lot of that, what you just relayed to me and the listeners, kind of comes through now that I think about it. The soundtrack has a lot of, I don't want to say urgency because I use that word a lot, but I think desperation, a lot of unwinnable situations. And I think I even use that in my notes further on, but I think that's a mood that's captured by the story you just told me. So yeah, that's great.
For sure. And it has a really great ambient soundtrack. There are some tracks that are a bit more songy than others, but for the most part, you get this great space ambience music that really goes well with the openness that you have in the game.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the simplicity of this record. It's not a knock. I think the composer leaned heavily into the atmosphere of the game. No pun. I think there was a genuine focus, less on music and more on setting that stage. I'm thinking, for me personally, this will probably be a more relaxed discussion than other episodes, simply because a lot of tracks are shorter and offer a very that atmospheric experience. It's not 100%, like you said, a soundtrack. There's some music, but not a whole lot. And although this is more of I would say this is more of a music soundtrack than, say, Quake.
Yeah.
But it's very atmospheric like Quake.
Right.
So I kind of want to comment on the thoughts and feelings of each track as we discuss it. And I think that's, a good place to start, because I want to get into the kind of a stage setting album this is. This is very, very focused on bringing
Soundscape.
Space to you.
Right.
And I think that's really cool.
Quickly, just want to say this was composed by Paul Ruskay. He was at Studio X Labs, which is still in existence, and I think he's still there. He composed Homeworld, Homeworld 2, and Homeworld Cataclysm. And he also did FIFA 2007, Sword of the Stars, and NHL 2K. He did a bunch of stuff. And it's a great album. But yeah, I think my first track, getting into it, is one of the more songy songs of this, Turanak Raiders.
Yes. Excellent choice.
Yeah, you get this like low thrum, kind of greets us in this hostile space. This is really the first time after you flee your homeworld that you are encountering other baddies.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes along with this eerie, echoing note that's kind of piercing the void. And then you get these tribal drums that start to fade in with fury as the raiders close the distance. And the volume gradually cranks up. The raiders are upon us. A haunting melody plays on what sounds like a Shanai. I hope I'm saying that right. There's a lot of Indian influence in some of these tracks.
That's interesting, because I commented on that as well. And I landed on Yargul or Argul from Middle Eastern. It's like a Middle Eastern flute or horn.
Oh, maybe.
That actually sounds very much like, I don't know if that's accurate, but very much so. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's definitely a reeded horn, that kind of shrill reeded horn sound that you get in like Middle Eastern and Indian and
exactly.
music. But that kind of heralds their entrance. And the horns subside with a short interlude before they return again for the end of the song. Just a great, tense, strong track to lead you into this hostile environment.
Very much. And I think one of my favorite aspects of the song is that kind of squawking. And I attributed it to the sound of the enemy fighters. That noise you're talking about, that kind of starts the song. Just, it sounds like in film, there a lot of times the enemy ships will be given this weird characteristic, this noise that goes along with their flight. That sound does that for me. I'm picturing the fighters from Independence Day or certain ships in Star Trek. The TIE fighters from Star Wars. You hear that whenever this noise comes in. And I just imagine that's the sound of the Turanak Raiders. That's just what their ships make. And yeah, I think that tribal drum has a very cool but authoritative presence. The squadron's coming in formation to launch an attack on people who likely don't deserve it. That's what I wrote down here. And then that horn, that reeded instrument, it has a little bit of reverb, and it just adds a little bit more depth and ferociousness to the song. It's like a war cry on the battlefield. It sounds at all the right moments. And I think this, above all else, is a very dangerous track, one where the percussion tells you the seriousness of the situation, and it really never lets up. The driving force in this song is the percussion. It's not an unusual trait, but it's also very much worth noting. So...
yeah, that horn being like their war cry is a great. Yeah, it's a great feel. Like as soon as it swells into this, the tribal drums swell, and you hear that war cry. You know that the furball has started.
Yeah, it's almost like the Easterlings in the Return of the King when they sound that horn, and the tides of the battle have now changed.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that's an excellent choice.
How about you for your first choice?
For me, I'm going to go a different route. I'm going with Outer Carrick System. This is a very, very atmospheric track for the listener. It's just so scary. You almost hear what sounds like an engine spooling up in the beginning, and then we get this sharp, elongated effect that gives the impression you've just traveled somewhere in the blink of an eye. The track overall is very subdued and spacious. This is what I imagined space to sound like.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in this little one-man fighter or exploratory vessel, and you're just looking around in these tight quarters. You can hear the silence of space, the unknown, and the terror in this track here. So there isn't much to the track other than the mood you get from it. It really explores your inner fears with its simplicity and ambience. And I think that's just awesome because, as we'll get into with future tracks, the sound of space is presented here, and we can only expand on that in a couple other songs I'm going to mention.
Yeah, I like the fact that the sound of space isn't like a silence; it's a oddity. Like there's these radio signals from long dead civilizations, or
I love it.
or some creature out in the distance. The low thrum that you get with that shrill tone really gives that sense of tension. Feels like your group has kind of finally reached the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And the background noises sound like these wild space, like sounds of wild space around you. This mission is the first after the first hyperdrive test, where you go out into this into space. You're supposed to meet a supply vessel that left in like impulse drive, basically, like hundreds of years ago, and you find that it's been destroyed, and you don't know why, and it's a lot of this is just very tense. It's great.
That's awesome. Yeah, they set that up pretty well.
Yeah.
I think Ruskay has done a swimming job. So what would your next track be?
I think the next one, I went with Imperial Battle.
Okay.
It's a very strong, more of a song than an ambient track, and it's definitely a battle track. You get an oppressive low note, starts us out before the drums enter in with a similar but more refined version of the Chennai or the reeded horn melody from the Turnak Raiders track. An alarm sounds in the middle, alerting us to the enemy fleet's presence. The drum fills back in, and the second chorus comes into life with that reedy Chennai. And the ever-present thrum just adds this feeling of power to the whole song. It just gives you this. You are now fighting the real enemy in this. Like the Turnak Raiders were, they're opportunistic pirates, but the Imperials are the real enemy, and you're in it now.
Yeah. I mean, the battle's once again waging in this song. And I equated it to like not a sequel or prequel to Tyrannic Raiders, but it's got that same hostility to it. That, again, that instrument, Argul, or whatever you have identified it as. I think that it spells out dark betrayal or your foe gaining the upper hand to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the mid-range of that instrument that really succeeds in purveying that image. As the song goes on, that tribal drum just persists and sets up for the impending battle. like you're saying, I think two armies are about to face off, and the good guys have someone they've been working with. This is kind of a weird image I got, but someone they've been working with suddenly reveals themselves to be a double agent. A revelation when that read-it instrument kicks in, that's when they find out or something. Yeah. Their systems have been sabotaged. Something horrible is about to happen. But yeah, it's a great track.
I like the fact that with the Turnak Raider track, that horn and the drums and some of the more ambient noises are a lot more chaotic because they are raiders, they're pirates. Whereas this is a lot more refined. It's a kind of a remix of the Turnak Raiders track, but has that refined nature to it, where it's an imperial force, and they know what they're doing. They're hardened soldiers, and it's a great way to kind of continue on that melody into other tracks.
Yeah.
How about you? What's your number 2?
My number 2, I'm gonna go with History of Kadeshi. What drew me to this song is the mixture of music and ambience. It has a lot of that ethereal quality that you all know I love. It's very long and swelling synth with the signature wooden drum. Throw on top of it some of that radio chatter that you were talking about, indistinct. It just gives it this creepy factor. Like, what it does is add to that picture of, again, that single fighter approaching his enemy's sector and shit's about to go down. The drum beat keeps the scene very uneasy and almost fearful. As simple and short a track as this is, it's always important to me that the composer captures the moment. When I listen to this song, I'm envisioning a recon mission about to go horribly wrong, or at least almost go wrong. The hero is going in to assess the situation and gain intel. It's not as easy as they thought. The radio chatter is maybe from their ally on the outside, relaying any activity that could potentially be hazardous. And why I like the radio chatter so much is that if you're just listening to the song, it's already unsettling. And that little element just adds this nature to it, that things are happening around you and you're still in this void of uncertainty for some reason. I don't know. It's just, it sounds like bigger things are around you, but you're just this tiny speck. And I don't know. It's a really cool feeling when you listen to the song.
Yeah, there's a couple tracks I think that have that radio chatter feel, and that's kind of a theme throughout the game. In some of the cutscenes, is where it has that indistinct radio chatter, and especially the aliens that you don't know their language and you just hear their radio chatter. It's a great way to bring that ambiance to the game and feels more alive. Yeah. The Kadeshi themselves is a really interesting thing. This part of the game, you will enter and you get like knocked out of hyperspace at a nebula, and you go to start mining that nebula to try to get back into hyperspace, only to find that there are the guardians of the Kadeshi guardians who protect this place, and you have soiled the holy gardens of Kadesh, and they want to destroy you. But the interesting thing is that the Kadeshi themselves are your ancestors. When you were exiled by the Taidan, 4 of your ships got lost and they got caught in this nebula, and then for thousands of years they've developed their own civilization and have this fanatical guardianship over this nebula, and they don't recognize now you're their enemy now, even though related many thousands of years ago they were the same people.
That's really cool. So it sounds like no matter where you go, you can't avoid someone wanting to kill you in this game. Sounds like someone's always out to get you.
There's one group that does help you. It's the Badashi, which are like the traders. They don't like the Taidan Empire either. Other than that, everyone else hates you.
Awesome. Well, it wouldn't be a game without that.
Exactly.
What about your next track?
My last one, I picked Hyperspace Inhibitors. A really great ambient track. The beginning of this has a vast quality to it. An alarm in the distance, the sound of metal on metal as ships leave the dock. Mm-hmm. There's this rolling crash cymbal that leads us into the heart of the track. The deep bass drum occasionally makes themselves known, a slow heartbeat for the track. Then you get this great synth horn that moves from ear to ear, making it seem like a pulsing hyperspace gate. And I wrote this down. It sounds like a track from Blade Runner 2049. Like this, you could plop this into 2049, it would sound like it belongs.
Good call. Yeah, I mean, one thing that stood out to me was that opening with those electronic noises. You said some sort of alarm. I equated it to like science fiction button noises that just kind of entering in the coordinates or something. I love how the tubas fluctuate in and out at the right times to make an otherwise heavenly track seem extremely powerful and disconcerting. I think it's so cool. And with all the synth swells and angelic tones, comes these deep horns that just blare this alarming tone, which keeps the listener on edge and I'm sure adds to the experience while you're playing. Again, Ruskay manages to combine both synthesizer waves, electronica, and semi-ambient noises from machinery and computers to create this landscape of a track. It's haunting with those tubas and the occasional deep timpani strikes. Mm-hmm. They just keep it imminent. The song is just, there's imminent danger. And on the flip side of that coin, everything else is just elegant and breathtaking. And that's a really cool line to toe. Yeah. So I think he did a really good job there.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely has that dichotomy where there's this beauty, but also this terror underneath. Mm-hmm. How about you for your last pick here?
My last one is going to be The Great Wastelands. It opens with a serene synthesizer wafting in and out. There's calmness to this. I could use this when I do my mindfulness, to be honest.
Yeah.
I just find my mind at peace. It's in space. It's drifting. There's no objective. You're just in the void of uncertainty and the unknowable future. It's so relaxing and comforting despite those things. I talked before on Silent Hill 2 about being able to sleep to that album. And this song fits the bill in that regard. It's so beautiful, and I love it because of the terror of space, which is, it's not really presented here.
Yeah.
But space also has a very distinct beauty to it, I think. And I think this is what makes that soundtrack great. The ambience in these tracks really captures the setting of space, and I'm sure that's a well thought out goal of Ruskay.
Yeah, I love that wandering tone that you get. You get a sense of, like you said, open space, and yeah, there's no real danger. Like you go back to Outer Carrick System, which has that open space feel, but there is also a sense of tension. Mm-hmm. In this one, it's more of just the terror, like you said, of open space, the unknown. But beyond that, the unknown. Mm-hmm. I love the low cello that really adds that deep body. And And in the middle, you get that in the distance, you hear that like vocalization.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit haunting. But yeah, overall, it just sets a great mood for a track that is about a wasteland in space.
Yeah, very much so. I'm sure Ruskay asked himself, how do I make space feel like space? Like, how can I indicate panic and war without crashing timpani or epic scores, right?
Right.
What I find fascinating about this album is the fact that so much is conveyed with so little. I feel like the setting above all else was considered when writing all these tracks, and I think that's important. If you can't sell that you're a space-borne civilization operating here, waging war here, expanding, then what are we doing? So on a whole, Ruskay spent his time working on the intricacies of space travel and battle rather than create an overly bombastic score that gives us shivers at key moments in a battle or a narrow escape. Instead, he gives us shivers by building the world and making us believe we're in that one-man ship that I keep talking about and drifting through space, engaging enemy fighters, and risking our lives. The addition of that radio chatter that we were talking about earlier, electronic buttons, beeps, alarms, even synth tones that mimic a suction. You can hear the pull of space all around you in your tight little cockpit, mere inches away, gnawing at the fuselage to just suck you out. So I have to say, well done, Ruskay. I have to say, this was such an enjoyable soundtrack purely for the stage setting. That's about what I got to say about it. I'd love to hear your take on this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, listening to this again is definitely a trip down memory lane. And one of the great things about this track, like you said, it's not bombastic because the story in Homeworld is of desperation, of hope to some extent, of trying to find your homeland, of oppression. It's not even though it is at times, like when you're actually playing the game, it's about big space battles and you're building your fleet and yada yada. The feeling that you get is space is vast and empty, but not as empty as you think it would be. And there are things that are trying to get you. There are people that are trying to kill you. They're trying to wipe you out, and you are running for your life. And overall, it's a masterful album for that reason.
He succeeds on plenty of levels, and I want to say that this was 1999, and especially with the Turnic Raiders song, I'm getting flashes of Battlestar Galactica, the newer one. I'm like, this sounds like shit's going down with the Cylons. It's got that element to the, not only the percussion, but that instrument, that reeded instrument that just, I swear I've heard it in that show because I think they had that more tribal feeling to the clans in that show. You know, it's humans, but they're also, you know, part of a clan, and then it's them versus the Cylons. So there was a very primitive feel to that show. And I think this captured that before that.
And it's a similar story where you're running for your life, and you have the last vestiges of your civilization tucked away in one ship.
Yeah. Well done, Ruskay. God.
Yeah, for sure.
So, as we always do, we like to try and promote soundtracks whenever we can. Under the title Homeworld Remastered Collection, I believe for $35, you will find it on Steam and GOG.
Yep.
You will have, from my understanding, you will have to purchase the game in order to get the soundtrack, which is a DLC. They do require you to buy the actual remastered game collection, but I don't think that's a bad thing.
No.
So, yeah, that's how you can support Ruskay. And I very much encourage people to do that because not only is the soundtrack phenomenal, the game is beautiful and really cool, really well done. And for the time, it was leagues above any other RTS out there. So,
oh yeah, revolutionary.
Paul Ruskay is a good guy in my book. So I'm going to give this, 10 out of 10 Hyperspace jumps.
Nice. Yeah, I have to, the nostalgia as well. I have to give it 10 out of 10 Ion Frigates. It's just a masterful soundtrack.
10 out of 10 frigates. That's awesome. Well, that's the show today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining John and myself. If you would like to say goodbye, John, please do so.
I'm getting out of here. I'm hyperspacing out of here. See you guys.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and subscribe on your podcast app of choice. Also, check out Magus Media's other podcast, This Is Not Happening, Another X-Files podcast for complete episode breakdowns, insightful banter, and inane babble. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Well, hello there, Internet people. My name is Josh, and I am one of the hosts of the Nastagram RPG podcast. We're an actual play RPG podcast, and we're good. And why are we good? Well, let's let the other host tell you. Dan.
Hey, everyone. If you like authentic, real-world sound effects, our lasers go pew-pew.
I love it. Matt.
Skip me. Coming back to Matt.
Ryan.
Okay, so after 2 decades of trying, we finally mastered the 3.5 grapple. We
Never mind. Try again.
Scratch that.
Look it up.
John.
If you're looking for a RPG podcast that plays a whole hell of a lot of games, you like to spice the life.
Spice it up.
Spice it up.
Matt, you ready?
Yeah, I think I'm ready. If you enjoy bad accents and overacting, you'll enjoy our podcast.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
And Jake, bring us home.
I like to just say we didn't just throw a phone on the table and hit record. Like, Josh does a damn good job with the editing. And
Facts.
if you care about that, you will not be disappointed.
That's right. We spent a bunch of money that we don't make on the podcast.
100%.
So check us out, Nastagram RPG Podcast. You can find us on all the goddamn podcast apps, and we'll see you there.
That's nasty.